Hello, hello, Projectland. Here we are again. This is episode 2. Welcome, welcome. If you are here, please do let us know where you are dialing in from today. Let us know you're here. Where in the world are you? We'd love to know. So please share that in the comments to let us know you're here and that we're not just talking to ourselves. Really would appreciate it. My name is Dawn Mahan. I'm dialing in from Florida today. I am so excited to welcome you back to Projectland. We had such a great time in episode 1 in January, on January 20th, when we kicked off our book launch for Projectland Goes to the Movies, 22 blockbuster strategies for project success, written by 22 authors from around the world who are not only experts, they're also fabulous people. And so if you were with us on episode 1 and back for more, welcome back. If you didn't get to see episode 1, it is available on LinkedIn Live as a replay, and you should check it out and find out all about the authors and movies that we introduced at that time for the launch. And so we're following up today, given the popularity of that, from folks that joined all around the world and had a great time with us. We love to send the good vibes. I feel like the world especially needs good vibes right now. So if you're with me on that, please let us know in the comments. Super excited to be here with our upcoming authors for today. So we have authors joining us from Wales, from Minnesota, from somewhere in central the US today, because she's traveling all around these days. I think Tennessee, maybe. Is that right? Yeah. And we also have our patriarch of the profession joining us from Ohio. We have a gentleman from Canada as well. So we're coming at you from all over the world and super excited to share with you some lessons, some movie references, and just having a good chat with friends today. So I'd like to first welcome to the stage a very special man. And some of us, by the way, are wearing green. It is St. Patrick's Day on the day of live. Some of us don't have green. So we're going to find out who's who here. All right. So let's get this party started. Episode 2. Here we go. Our first guest is a patriarch of the project management profession, a Project Management Institute PMI fellow, a founder of the PMP certification, which many of us authors have. He received the PMI Distinguished Contribution Award and the Professional Development Provider of the Year Award. He's been an author since the 1980s and is an international speaker who is well loved around the world, including by many of our authors and definitely by me. We are honored to receive a quote from him for the book, a portion of which is on the back of the book, the extra special spot for those endorsement quotes. And here's what he said. "This is the book I wish I had written. Fresh, fun, and inspiring. A true game changer for the profession and a must-have for everyone ready to break free from Groundhog Day." Come on up to the stage, Lee Lambert. Come on up here with me today. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. The longer that introduction gets, the older it must be. Because I couldn't have done all of those things, but it's nice to be recognized. And I didn't get a chance to participate early on in this activity, but when you and I spoke about it, I could see this had some real value to it. And I used to go to movies, just watch them and enjoy them. Now I'm dissecting every movie, figuring out how does this play in projects. And, you sort of taking the fun out of movies, but put the fun in books. So I think that's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lee. I mean, you're an author yourself. And so when you gave us that amazing quote and said, you wish it was the book you had written, please tell me more about this. Why is that?
Well, it just immediately took me back to the day that I sat through Groundhog Day, and it was painful, I must say. The thing with Groundhog Day is that you can only see it maybe 15, 20 minutes, because then the rest of the show just repeat. And so when I got out of there, my wife said, "What'd you think?" And I said, "Well, I think Bill Murray was good for the 2 or 3 minutes that I saw him." No, Groundhog Day would not have been a good book to write my story about because it would have been all negative. I hated that movie.
So in the chat, folks, love it or hate it, Groundhog Day. We want to hear from you. I also, Lee, did not love the movie Groundhog Day and thought I wish I could get that time back because part of the reason I love Projectland so much is that it's new and different every day. There's always something different, some problem to solve, different people to work with. So I also did not enjoy that movie very much.
Well, I think what you've done here, what you've created with this series, is something that I'm very hopeful that people will give it a chance. It's not a normal book. You look at it and you think, oh, wow, what could this darn thing be about? I mean, origami, and no, it's about movies. It's about what movies you're trying to communicate to the audience, and unfortunately, most of the audience I don't think gets it. Well, you can get it when you read about it in a book. So I think I thought it was kind of silly at first. I'll admit. I thought it was a child's book. I thought you were going crazy, but then as I started to look into it, that's really good stuff. I actually love it. I don't read a lot of books, but I am reading that one and trying to figure out what's the message in each of the chapters. What is it that's why these authors? I mean, they must be brilliant because they dissect these movies and just write it down like it was nothing. I know I've written 4 books and it isn't fun. Now they're technical books and they're books about the Middle East and that kind of thing, but so they don't really have a plot. But even that, it was very difficult, very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely, Lee. Yeah. Thank you so much for acknowledging the hard work it is to write a book. And it was definitely a labor of love to put together this book. So my co-editor, Jerry Manis, who couldn't be here at the beginning of our session together today, he and I just loved working with all these authors and absolutely, it was hard work. It was hard work for our authors to put their thoughts together, but we've had a script, which I hope helps the readers too to enjoy how the book flows, because each one of the authors has a lesson, has the movie that it's inspired by. We introduce their story about what it means to them. And so on episode 1, which you participated in, you weren't able to join live like this, but you participated in, you got to hear from some of those authors. And today we're going to hear from more of those authors about really their thoughts behind the chapter, which I'm so excited to share with everybody.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I still think you should do a check, though. Anybody crazy enough to enter into a series, 1 book's bad enough. Now you're talking about a series. I think you've got some challenges going on there to keep everybody involved, because you'll know if that's working, because when everybody wants to do another chapter, wants to do more things, and there's a lot of more authors out there, you'll know you got a winner. I think it's off to a very good start. I think both the first 2 are bestsellers, and you can't really argue with that.
That's right. Well, thank you for that. Yeah. So my first book, Meet the Players in Projectland, was all about the people side, and this one really brought the storytelling again, which movies are just run by master storytellers, and we all know that learning from stories is the way that the human brain really learns very well. So I agree with you. It's not your normal book. And it has gone to the bestseller list. It was also debuted as a #1 Amazon hot new release, which is really incredible. So thank you for acknowledging that too, Lee. And thank you for being here today and supporting all of our wonderful authors with your name, with your wonderful quote. And again, if you missed it because you were just coming on, this is Lee Lambert, a co-founder of the PMP certification. And he said, "This is the book I wish I had written, fresh, fun, and inspiring, a true game changer for the profession, and a must-have for everyone ready to break free from Groundhog Day." And neither one of us actually liked that movie. So, but if you did, good for you. Lee, would you like?
No
Go ahead. No judgment.
problem. I mean, it's just that we think differently, maybe. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, Bill Murray actually also makes an appearance in one of our other chapters, which is Ghostbusters. So Bill Murray makes it into the book. So if you're a Bill Murray fan, don't worry, he's in there. Lee, would you like to help me introduce our next guest who has not met you yet, but who has wanted to for a long time? Are you ready?
Yeah, I mean, I even put in the chat, he was anxious to meet me. I said, man, you just have a boring life if you get excited.
Well, let's check it out. So let's see, who's our next guest? Our next guest and our first co-author today is a project professional, speaker, and PMO leader who spent his career helping people make sense of the chaos that often comes with delivering change. He holds a master's degree in project management and has led complex programs across different sectors, learning that success is rarely about sticking to the plan and almost always about how you respond when it goes off script. He's passionate about building epic teams through psychological safety, mentoring the next generation of project professionals, and helping others unlock their own project management superpowers. In fact, he's been called to speak about psychological safety in Projectland. And if you've ever worked in a toxic environment, then you know how important that work is. Joining us at the start of his evening in Wales is the author of Chapter 8, Fail Fast, Burn Faster, Lead Smarter, How an Agile Astronaut Iterated His Way Home. That's right. He was inspired by the movie The Martian, starring Matt Damon. Lee, please help me welcome to the Projectland stage, James Evans.
Hello. Hey, James. How are you doing? I'm sure glad to finally get a chance to meet you. I've heard so much about you. In fact,
you too.
I'm going to talk to my writers. Your introduction was better than mine.
No, it's glad to be part of this and to finally get to meet you too. I was saying yesterday that these type of events, you don't really get to see people, especially across the pond, and meet people in this way. So yeah, it's been very good to actually be able to meet you in this way.
Well, you got a friend now. Just remember that.
Very good. So, James, let's thank Lee for being here. Thank you so much, Lee. I'm going to put you backstage for now, but we're sure we'll hear from you soon. Thank you, Lee.
Okay.
Bye for now. All right, James. So you chose The Martian. Why?
It was quite funny, actually, because when the email came through, I can remember it was an evening I actually opened the email, and it must have been no more than 24 hours since I was actually watching the film itself. And I was there thinking about all these different ideas about, well, what could I write a chapter on if I actually went ahead and did this? And it just dawned on me then that I was watching this film yesterday, and I was actually thinking about how much it aligned to myself and the current work and that I'm doing. And no, not that I'm an astronaut or anything like that, but it was linking into just some of the ways I was thinking and some of the way I felt, and it sort of really resonated. And I was like, well, actually, this is probably the chapter I need to go and write, because this does talk to project management. It talks to PMO management as well as project management, but it also links into a lot of real life lessons that I thought would make it a really valuable subject for the book.
Yeah, and one of the things that Jerry and I did when we were cooking up this crazy idea is we had a whole list of topics we hoped would make it into the book. And Agile was one of them. And we were like, we have no idea how this is going to appear, but we really hope it does. And you did it. You're our main author on that incorporated Agile lessons by iterating his way home. This, Matt Damon, amazing. So how did you come out of this from, your story? Like, you must have been, you said it really was resonating with you and what was going on. So tell us more about that.
Yeah. So my background, I've worked in public sector for basically all my adult life, and my whole project experience has come from public sector. And public sector here in the UK is probably the same as it is in many other places, but it's so dynamic and constantly changing, and especially in the post-COVID world as well. Everything had completely changed in the project space in public sector healthcare. So it was a real place of you couldn't really have a fixed sort of waterfall plan anymore. Everything had to be really adapting last minute, and then all of a sudden something else would change. And you did feel like you were constantly having to fight for your life a bit with the projects and having to go, right, this has drastically changed again. Off we go. We're going to deal with it one problem at a time, move on to the next, and just always just only looking 1 or 2 steps ahead, but still having that strategic view of the end goal in mind as well. And that's kind of been always the way with the projects I've had to manage, and it connected so well to the film in the end.
It did. It really did. And so let me share your hot take, which is what we call, the main lesson of each chapter, because we're using a lot of these movie references. So we have our hot take from your chapter is, when conditions change, address what's in front of you, learn quickly, and keep progressing one problem at a time. So yeah, absolutely. I love that. And so it's like you're flying the airplane as you're building it constantly, right? Is that the feeling?
Yeah, it was a saying that was said to me a long time ago, building a airplane as you're flying it. And at first I didn't get what the person was saying to me. And then I was like, as I was living these projects in real time, thinking, yeah, we're building the frameworks, we're delivering this as we're actually trying to plan it at the same time. In fact, at the moment, I'm in a project in this space where we're currently planning for a year ahead whilst trying to deliver this project before we even got a plan. So we're almost just looking a week ahead at a time and trying to deliver this in real time. It's quite an interesting space to be in, but it's fun. I enjoy it. It's I think I'd have to if I've been in it this long. But yeah, it's definitely an agile way of working, probably to its extreme.
Yeah, it really does sound like it. And so speaking of your workplace, I heard that you guys are using the book.
Yeah, so the book has really resonated. Again, within the sector that I work, we have a lot of people who are project managers by title, but project management is also woven into a lot of other jobs as well. And with them, they're not trained project managers. They don't know what project management is. So I've been trying to find a way from the PMO perspective, where we have to actually upgrade capability within the teams to actually resonate with them and give them something that isn't just textbook definitions, but something that they can link. So along came the book, and then that kind of started to connect. And when I told them about the chapter I'd done and they wanted to see that, some of it started to click, and someone went, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense to me now. I can see what you're trying to do there. So then I started to try and go through some of the other chapters and go, well, actually, we're talking about stakeholder management, or we're talking about this, or we're talking about that. And I started to use the chapters then as that sort of guidance, as lessons for them to learn. So now what we're planning to do over the next couple of months is use the book, and we've almost got themes for each month to different areas of project management. And we're using the book chapters as kind of our guide for them to use within the organization as a way to link back to movies. And we're going to try and turn it into a whole sort of package going forward. So really excited to get involved with that now.
That's amazing. That's it. Like I'm not much of a crier, James, but I feel it coming on. I'm trying to a little bit. That's so exciting. That's beyond what we could have hoped for, I think, and part of the idea of trying to make these complex concepts accessible and fun to learn. So it's working. It's working.
Yeah. No, it absolutely is. They're really connecting with it, and I've even had people actually go and buy the book now themselves to do it. And these are people who aren't in the project space, but they've gone to buy the books. They love that it's in a language they understand, which is everything I wanted. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, brilliant way to use this, and please let us know how we can help support you and your organization and learning all this. It's true outside the public sector, also in the private sector, in many companies and organizations where people are asked to do projects and they're with no training, with no help whatsoever in understanding the world that we're living in, which is why I call it Projectland, to help people understand that you're in a different world with different roles and rules, and it might feel like Mars.
Absolutely.
Well, James, thank you for sharing your insights. Would you like to share a chapter that resonated with you that wasn't your own chapter?
Yeah, so for me, I think people will understand why. So I chose the other chapter, which I really resonated with, was the chapter by Justus, which was the Ocean's 11 chapter. And purely because I was really interested, actually, to see how that would, I suppose, be opposite to my chapter. So you had more of a waterfall, very planned type approach, but then having to iterate maybe towards the end, versus mine, which was complete chaos and agile from the start. So yeah, I wanted to see what the contrast would be like and where things were similar or not.
Yeah, and I happen to just love that movie. I've seen it many, many times, myself. And so Ocean's 11 is one that I would have written if Justus hadn't chosen it. But he chose a completely different lesson. And so what I'd like to do is ask you to help us actually invite Justus up here so he can talk about Ocean's 11. Will you do that with me?
Absolutely.
All right, awesome. So Justus is about to come up on stage. He's a senior PMO lead with a number of globally respected certifications, so many letters. He has experience leading a $100 million project portfolio. He's also trained over 500 professionals, including senior military leaders in project management and Lean Six Sigma. Like you, James, he holds a master's degree. His is in data management and analytics. He's also the host of the Life and IT Project Management YouTube channel, where he collaborates with elite professionals to share actionable insights and elevate the next generation of project leaders. You guys have a lot in common. Joining us from Canada, please give Justus a warm welcome to the stage, everybody. And James, Justus, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you. Hey,
I'm
James.
so excited to introduce you guys to each other.
Awesome.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
So, Justus, did you see The Martian?
Not yet.
See, this is the other great thing. Like, we all got to learn about other movies that we need to put on our list.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Well, awesome. Well, James, Justus, James, thank you for joining us. And before you go, I want to know why you're wearing red.
Well, I don't actually have, I should say, any green clothing to put on. So I thought I would just wear the colour of my sort of homeland, Wales itself, which is red. And there is a bit of a rivalry with Wales Island, especially around rugby in this part. So yeah, I thought I'd stick with the red today.
We'll go Wales. Thank you very much. Thanks, James, for
Thank
joining
you.
us. James, let's thank James for being on the stage. Bye for now, James.
Thank you.
Thanks. Justus, thank you for joining us from Canada. Is it cold there?
It is. Snowing.
So tell us, why did you respond to the author casting call for this book?
Wow. First of all, my experience over the past 20 years, I have witnessed a situation where you seek mentors, sometimes even with the knowledge that you try to acquire by yourself. You get on projects and things, the real world just seems like a huge segue from what you studied, right? And you can't easily access a mentor to guide you. So an opportunity to communicate the intricacies of project management practically, especially for aspiring PMs. I am open to always doing that, and I was happy to be on this.
Awesome. Yeah, and because we were trying to keep it simple and make sure that everybody could understand the material through movies, that makes so much sense to me. And I just love it that you're so focused on helping the next generation of project managers grow and learn. So thank you for doing that. that's a unique reason to join us on this crazy journey in creating this book. So your hot take, I'd like to share with everybody. So your hot take was very different than the one that I would have chosen if I were to write the Ocean's 11, and I really loved it. I loved what you pulled together out of the movie. I think there were so many lessons in Ocean's 11, but yours was whether a project starts on the right foot or not. The only way you come out on the other side with your integrity intact is by doing it right the first or second time around. In essence, know the destination, but trust your approach and prepare for detours. So tell us more about your lesson in your own words.
Awesome. So when you get to be asked the question, do you know what you're doing? You might look at the person asking that question. If it's a business sponsor or an EVP or a CEO, you'll be like, you might quibble, right? You might be shocked. But eventually, in my experience, I've come to understand that do you know what you're doing is not a technical question. It's an approach question. You don't have to have it all figured out, right? So that's very important. Now, projects are dynamic, not linear. There's continuous risk management that you have to factor, not one-time planning, not the baselines alone. But most importantly, if you are always prepared, of course, and do the needful, different approaches in different enterprises, trusting your approach will always help you. You should always prepare for change. You should be prepared to be adaptable. And most importantly, communicate. That will save you a whole lot. So that has been my own experience with project, and that's the reason for the hot take.
Yeah, I love it, and that's part of your title is "Do you know what you're doing?" And we were talking about your chapter on Mike Clayton's show. Because he asked us, what other chapters would you like to highlight that really resonated with you? So I chose yours because I feel like the "Do you know what you're doing?" We all, and in the chat, please let us know if you have a yes to this also, where you wonder, do I know what I'm doing? Because the thing is that in Projectland, it's the first time you're doing something. That's why it's really a project. It's usually the first time, even if you've done this similar project somewhere else, or you're running an event every year, it's different. There are different things that will happen. There are different players. There are differences. And so there are many times when even those of us who have been at this for a long time might feel like, I don't really feel like I know what I'm doing.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, so I love that you really talked about self-confidence in that, and being confident in the process and being confident in your communication skills and your ability to figure it out and so forth. So thank you so much for bringing that lesson to the book and to students of all ages everywhere, because it's a great reminder, Justus. So in your review of some of the other chapters, which one also resonated with you?
Well, chapter 18 by Michael Schafer. And the title of the chapter is "I'm making this up as I go," because that has a lot of similarities with my own chapter as well. And deep diving into it, seeing the experiences, the curveballs that he had to go through, but most importantly, finding out at the end of the day, yes, you could end up being the Indiana Jones of your project, of your Projectland, right? Even for the fact that there was one comment at the end of the day, there was a CEO that stated that yes, the project was executed flawlessly. Now, this is a project that was 1 year off, a whole year off, right? And there were so many variances from baseline. But for the fact that every risk, every issue that came up, the approach, communicating frequently, all that had to go into all that he had to become, abandoning his plan his initial plan and becoming adaptable, that really helped him be successful. And the goal or purpose that he was signed up to, bringing jobs back to the area there, that was beautiful, and that was like a higher purpose to have his team key into. So they just kept at it and kept going. So practically, like he making things up as as they went, right? So that also was very noteworthy for me.
Makes sense. And in fact, we're going to hear from Mike a little later, everybody. So you're going to get to hear straight from the author on the chapter that Justus is mentioning. So Justus, thank you for that so much. Would you like to help me introduce our next guest?
Our next guest is
Rachel. So here we go. So let's introduce her together. So Rachel brings expertise from managing dental equipment projects, from procurement to installation, so unique, and managing a wide variety of marketing projects to her role at the Project Management Institute. Anybody ever heard of that place? Where she is learning the ins and outs of professional educational product development. Whether managing projects or leading teams, Rachel thrives on empowering others like you, Justus. She is committed to creating safe, inclusive environments, facilitating networking, and hosting engaging learning sessions. When she's not in Projectland, she's planning or on her next adventure, spending time with her family or her pug. So Justus, let's welcome Rachel to the stage. Here she comes.
Hello. Great to see you both. How are you?
Where are you dialing in from today, Rachel?
I am officially in Tennessee. You alluded to it before. I'm here. I still have to go to the DMV to get my license, but we're good. We're here.
It's always something. She's on a journey. So Justus, Rachel, and Mike are business partners and great friends. So
they have a chapter. I thought of course I'm reading the chapter you have with him.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, stay tuned, Justus, because you're going to hear more from them, both of them, a little later. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Please thank Justus for joining us today from Canada. Thank you, Justus.
Thank you, Justus.
Thank you.
Stay warm.
Yeah, really. Stay warm.
Yeah. Yes.
So, Rachel, why did you choose School of Rock?
Oh, Don. School of Rock has been one of my all-time favorite movies my whole life. When it first came out, my family, we would watch it on an annual basis. As an adult, I continue to watch it on an annual basis. It's just such a fun movie. It's so silly and so lighthearted, and being able to watch it now as an adult, and then now after, years of being in project management, it just seemed like a great fit. And how can I make this silly movie with Dewey, the main character? He's an idiot, right? And it just, how do I make this so fun and relatable to people in project management? So I thought it was a great challenge, and it's a movie that's meant a lot to me. So why not?
There you go. Well, and thanks to you, I've watched School of Rock. I hadn't seen it before. And Jerry and I, when we were talking about it and you proposed it, we were like, I'm not really sure how she's going to pull a lesson out of this thing. But you did it. You did it. Absolutely brilliantly. So why did you respond to our author casting call, Rachel?
Yeah. So I've had a dream for, goodness, I think about 8 years now, that I would love to be an author of, my initial thought was a children's book. So I would write in English as well as Chinese, because I studied Chinese throughout high school and college. And frankly, my Chinese skills have lapsed. So we're going to get back to it. I still have friends over there, and, we're practicing, but that's always been a dream of mine, is to write children's books. So I thought, hey, why not, having this opportunity to be a co-author that could help me practice, right? I've written a little bit, but this was more formal and more structured, and it was a great opportunity. And I mean, I've loved getting to know you over the years, and it's just been so fun. So I thought, why not? What an incredible opportunity. And to see your name in something is really, it's quite a powerful feeling. So
it is, especially after so much work to earn your name and the credits.
Yes.
I know it was a lot of work. And so what's so funny about I can see Lee laughing in the green room. He at first he was like, Dawn, did you write a children's book? Are these children's books?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then he opened them up and he was like, oh no, not a
Oh,
children's
wait.
book at all, for sure. And so
Yep.
so that makes sense that this is
Yes.
your first one.
Yes. Yes. It's almost like an adult children's book somehow, right?
Yeah.
It's somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we made
Yeah.
it fun, right? We made
Yeah,
it fun
exactly.
and relatable and hopefully simple
Mhm.
enough to make it easy to pick up your favorite chapter and get something out of it that day.
Exactly.
So tell us about your lesson from the book. Shall I read the hot take? So people-
Yeah.
Okay, so Rachel's hot take from School of Rock. The most unlikely sources can teach you something powerful. Project leaders must foster an environment where everyone feels empowered to share their thoughts and ideas. So Rachel, help us understand your point of view here.
Yeah. So when I wrote that hot take, it really came from the lens of Dewey. So all intents and purposes, he really didn't know what to do and how to be a functional adult, right? He was a washed up rock star. He, didn't know how to spell his roommate's name, like just all these things, right? And he didn't know how to be in the real world. So you would not expect to learn anything from this man. Yet there was a ripple effect that he had on people. And in the chapter, I highlighted his engagement with Principal Mullins and how he was able to kind of lighten the mood, get her to talk. He found out she likes Stevie Nicks. So then, he takes her to a bar and plays Stevie Nicks. And while don't go get people drunk, right? Not good best practice, but it was a way of, he related to on a human level, right? To say, hey, you like Stevie Nicks, I like Stevie Nicks. And I think that that's such a great reminder for all of us, especially in a world, where so much is tech driven and all of that how do we still relate to people? And I think that, movies is a great way to do it because movies mean a lot to people. So this book is genius. But, he also had a larger ripple effect on, the students, and they were able to voice, hey, this is what I'm interested in. This is the type of role I want to be in. And he gave them that opportunity. And then he gave his roommate the courage to stand up to his ex-girlfriend, stuff like that you just would not expect that to have come from a guy who was, mooching off of his friends, sleeping on his floor for free. You just would not expect that. So
Yeah,
I love making.
I loved how, okay, so we didn't know how you were going to do it, right? And then unlike Ocean's 11, right, from which we just heard from Justus on, in Ocean's 11, one of the scenes I love the most is where they're choosing who they need based on their skills.
Yep.
Like, oh, well, we're going to need this kind of guy. Oh, I have a guy for that. Oh, we're going to need this kind of guy. I have a guy for that. In yours was completely opposite situation.
Yeah, it was. Dewey chose some of the roles for the students, to be in the rock band, but then he gave them the opportunity to say, hey, I want to do this instead. Like one of the girls, for example, she went from wanting to be on the security team to say, hey, I'm actually a singer. And he said, okay, great. Show me what you got. And he gave her that opportunity and she sang and it was incredible. And, we'll let others watch the movie and read the book to find out. But it really was an incredible way that he empowered people around him. So
yeah, absolutely. And it reminds me of the one chapter that I wrote in Meet the Players, where we talk about, when you're leading a team of people at work on a project, there are two ways generally that you get the people. You recruit them for your skills, like in Ocean's 11, or people. Or they're given to you.
Yeah.
And you have to figure it out how best to apply the skills that you have to the tasks that you need. And so I love it that you were able to cover that side of it, because a lot of us have that situation. Yeah. So in your own world, where have you seen these lessons come up?
Yeah. So one of, just a fun story from back when I worked in dental equipment. I was fresh out of college, so I knew everything. Just kidding. I knew nothing, right? Fresh out of college, and I was working, in operations and ordering equipment, managing a warehouse, managing installations, things like that. And I had received an email, and I can't quite remember the context because this was a few years ago now, but the person was talking about a part number or something along those lines. And I responded very politely. I don't know who this person is, but, I'll politely correct them. And they, so I responded and corrected them. And they said, "Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate the insight." Well, then my boss walks out of his office and said, "Do you know who that was?" And I was like, "No, should I?" Like, that was the CEO of the company.
And how big was this company?
It's Fortune 500. So yeah, right? So fresh out of college, who knew, But yeah, so yeah, obviously, like looking back, if I had known who that was, I might not have responded the exact same way, but I still think that I would have, I'm not going to tell the CEO he's right when he's wrong, right? I feel like that kind of does a disservice, but maybe there was a better way I would have approached that. But it was just kind of a fun story. And, by him graciously saying, "Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate the insight." Well, he was, the main stakeholder, right? And he appreciated, he appreciated me being able to push back in a sense or correct him. And I thought that that was really nice too, that he doesn't know who I am. Clearly, I don't know who he is, but he appreciated what I had to say. So, yeah.
And that's how we learn. Right?
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Examples.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Rachel, I think it's time to introduce our next guest, who you know rather well.
Yes.
So let's do it.
Yes.
So
Let's do it.
after nearly 4 decades, which I can't believe it, because when you look at this guy, you're like, there's no way he started project management. He must have started project management at 2 years old, right?
Yeah.
So, but nonetheless, that's what it says here. 4 decades leading projects, processes, and people in the realms of manufacturing, software development, and IT infrastructure. Our next guest recently left the corporate world to embark on a new venture. He co-founded Back in the Box Consulting with you, Rachel, and together you're on a mission to empower clients through straightforward, principle-centered, step-by-step solutions to common project communication and leadership challenges. He makes his home in the beautiful St. Croix River Valley in Minnesota, where he enjoys life to the fullest. He's a proud dad of 4 adult children, a master martial artist, an enthusiastic sailor, a decent skier, an occasional cyclist, and naturally, a passionate moviegoer. Come on up to the stage, Mike Schafer.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Hello.
Hey, Mike. So,
Glad to be
okay.
here.
So
Rachel, the temperature here is 1 below 0. So I think you're glad you moved.
Yes, I am.
Well, I'll be curious if Justus is winning in the cold department, or if Minnesota is. But so Mike and Rachel together, everybody, wrote the Lord of the Rings chapter, which Justus was mentioning he's reading now. So how did you come to write this chapter together?
Well, we were, when we first heard about this, we thought we were going to write a lot of chapters. We were going to flood you with chapters because we wanted to make sure one got into the book. But we knew we wanted to write one together. And because we both have great passion for this movie series, Lord of the Rings, and at the time this came up, there's a theater here in Minneapolis that runs a Lord of the Rings marathon every year. And so we saw that was coming up in January last year. And we got the tickets for it right away, and we were planning to sit in that theater. We did, sat in that theater for 12 hours. I think it was 12 hours to get all through 3 extended cuts to prepare to write this chapter. It wasn't until after that, I think, when you kind of let us down, or not let us down, but let us know that you really only wanted one chapter from each person.
Yeah.
But we're risk management planners. We wanted to be ready just in case.
Yeah, so Jerry and I were like, wow, we love the enthusiasm. We so appreciate the enthusiasm, that you brought to it. And then what was amazing, and this is where the life lesson of setting yourself up for an opportunity really came into play here, because we had someone who was planning to write the Lord of the Rings chapter, who then had a situation and he couldn't do it. And he felt so terrible about, letting us down. But you had already sat in the theater for over 12 hours.
Eating
You're already
pizza.
friends who work together all the time. You was posted in the author forum a photo of you guys outside the theater, and you were like, watching movies today, right? And so I was like, no problem, don't worry about it. I think I have an answer. And I called you guys and was like, guess what? Would you like to do it together? And immediately you're like, yes. So
Yep.
that was really, really amazing. So thank you for not only writing your own chapters, but coming together as you always do and writing this brilliant chapter together. So let's talk about the lesson. So the lesson, the hot take, is there's no one person who carries a project. There's no one hero in Middle Earth and in life. No matter what you see in the headlines, it always takes a team to accomplish amazing things. So tell us more about your lesson.
I'll let Rachel talk for a little bit, otherwise I'll get started and I won't stop.
Yeah. So
Next, when we talk about the other movie, yeah.
There
So
we go.
tell us more about why you guys chose this angle on Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, well, it was just so important throughout, that movie that, yes, while Frodo was kind of the main character and what the team revolved around, right? So that he was on this journey to take the ring, but you needed an entire team around him in order for him to be successful. And that's where, Mike and I, we go into details of different characters and how they kind of related to us in our personal lives, but the importance of having a Gandalf, right? And even having a Gollum is important, right? No one wants a Gollum, but they have their place. And so that was really what it was about, in understanding, kind of who does what and what the importance is of everyone's differences are. And that kind of is a theme, it seems like in the Ocean's 11 and School of Rock and, creating teams, but really in Lord of the Rings, it was just such an incredible example of this is how you form a team.
Yeah. Yeah. And Gandalf, what did you like about his character in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, he was just such a good leader, and he knew he knew that Frodo was the right person, and not because of his size, right? He's a hobbit. He's a miniature guy. One would think, someone who is tasked with such an important, journey to go on to take the ring, you would think that, oh, maybe this is big burly guy, and he chose a little hobbit, but he knew, because he saw his character and he saw who he was, and the way that he led people, it was just incredible the way he led the team. And when I thought about that in my own life, I had a former CEO, so not the same dental company, but the place I worked after that. And she reminded me a lot of a Gandalf, and she knew her strengths and her weaknesses. She vocalized her weaknesses. She would tell us, hey, if you're editing a presentation written by me, I'm not great with grammar, so it's okay to just edit stuff, right? Oh. And that humility was really, it was really powerful for the rest of the team. And she specifically chose people to take on roles that she knew the company needed and that areas maybe she wasn't as strong in. So I think that Gandalf kind of did the same thing, right? And he recruited the right leaders and the right team members where he knew their strengths would be valued.
Yeah, it's awesome when you get to work with a humble leader like that.
Yes.
For sure. So Mike, tell us about the evil character in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, so if you read the chapter, we hope it looks like one person wrote it, but we did split it up a little bit. And I had some experience with a Gollum that I shared. I had a developer on one of my project teams that was very smart, very creative, and had written this very unique software to process sequenced orders for this particular product we had. And he's the only one who could do it. but he's a textbook narcissist, just really difficult to work with. Had complaints from other people, did not communicate very well. And I would have liked to have fired him. And I don't like to fire too many people, but I wanted to. And normally that's what I would advise someone to do. But sometimes you just can't. That's the reality of the world. We'd like to say, person's got to have character and competence. But some people, I think prima donna is an expression you may have heard, have so much competency they get away with a lot. So I had to have Gollum on the team because he knew the way to the Mount Doom in this particular case. But what I did is, I didn't exactly put a rope around his neck like they did with Gollum in the movie, but I did the professional equivalent, which is I started micromanaging him, and I partnered him up with somebody else that could little by little learn what it was that he knew, so we wouldn't be quite so dependent on that individual. And we got through it, parted company with him by sending him to a different team after the project was over, and he left the company shortly afterwards. So
Wow.
it all worked out. But that's the sad reality of the lesson is sometimes you don't get to choose your team. You get your team chosen for you and you're stuck with them and you got to figure out a way to work with it. And it's not always pleasant, but that's a little skill you have to have in your back pocket if you're going to be a project manager, because that's just how it is.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you brought that into the book too, because the biggest problem in Projectland is the people. Right? And you have to find a way to work with whoever you get. And sometimes it's the best part is also the people.
Yeah.
When we get to work together with all of these authors, together, and we have some of them on the line as well. So we had Mike joined us today. This lady, Tanya, has joined us, her in person as well. So we've got a bunch of authors on, Bruno. All of these guys and gals that came together for this crazy project of putting this book together. Just the best part of it was the people. But in your case, Mike, in talking about, the situation you were in, it's also can be the big bummer of Projectland. And so having these tips from people like you that have been through it, who have, had to come up with ways and it's worked, I think it's going to help a lot of people, which I'm really grateful for. So thank you guys for stepping up to the challenge and writing a chapter together. And you did really weave it together, and we can't tell. I know, but we can't tell who said what, which is really, really cool. So thank you for that. And thank you, Rachel, for sharing School of Rock as well. So Rachel, you have a strategy session with Mike later today. You better go.
I do. I know. I got a lot of prep to do. So
Right.
I'll be ready, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, please thank Rachel for joining us today. Rachel in Tennessee,
everyone.
Bye for now.
Yes.
So, Mike, you're our final guest for today, so we're going to bring it home with you. So what I'd love to know more about, and Justus did a beautiful job teeing you up, didn't he? So,
Yeah, that was thank you, Justus. I really appreciate that.
yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think he was so right about that. But tell us more about why you chose Raiders of the Lost Ark, Mike.
Well, Indiana Jones is just such a classic hero and kind of like a role model for myself. And the most significant thing about him to me personally is that he is the exact opposite of me. He does the exact opposite of everything that's normal for me. I'm organized. I have checklists. I like everything to proceed in a very orderly way. And if it goes off the rails, my natural reaction is, well, I guess we're not doing that. But Indiana Jones, if it goes off the rails, he that's all he knows is when the project is not on track. Yeah. And what I discovered, I probably halfway through my career somewhere, is that knowing all the PMP stuff and knowing all the checklists and having all the detailed plans only gets you about halfway there for a project of any size or magnitude, because they never go according to plan. So you have to figure out what to do when they go off the rails, off the plan. So that's what appealed to me about Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I love it. And I feel like that happens a lot in movies where some of the characters we like the most are the ones we wish we had some of those superpowers. That's certainly the case for me too. So when you were responding to the author casting call, what were you thinking?
Well, of course, I love movies, so that, lit me up a little bit. And when I was younger, I used to do some creative writing, and I always wanted to do some writing. And a few years ago, I actually wrote a book, a children's book, I guess you could say. I do that too, but it was for my kids and my adult children, so not little children. And it was about all these lessons in life that I wanted to teach them, but I didn't feel like I had. So I gave them a book. You can see my daughter's on the call today.
Hi,
She'll give you a
Tabitha.
review of the book and tell you if it's good or not. I only published it by taking it to Office Max and printing it, but it was a very cathartic and satisfying experience. I'm really proud of it. And so when I had the chance to do this, I thought, oh, this is a chance to actually write a published piece of work. And one chapter is not quite as much of a commitment. So
Right.
really, it was a really exciting opportunity.
Yeah, you weren't the only one that said, "Oh, dipping my toe in the water
Yeah.
with the book writing thing," because it's always sort of been on your mind. You're not the only one. So I think Bruno said that last time in episode 1. James said something similar to me, and so yeah, I'm so glad that some of you that had been interested in maybe writing a book really answered the author call and wrote fabulous chapters as you
Yeah, I
did.
think you gave a lot of people opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunities here.
Well, we were so excited that you and everybody else answered the call, because it certainly wouldn't be the same book without all these different perspectives and movies, and lessons and so forth. So tell us about more about your story and the lesson that you're bringing to us.
Well, I have so many lessons. I could only jam a few into the story. And as I was reflecting on this, I thought a lot of the lessons you learn is because you screw things up. And I have messed up a lot of projects and learned those lessons. And that's where I get this portfolio of risk management plans. I don't really make stuff up as I go. I've got so much to draw on because I've messed so many things up and recovered from them. But I remember one particular scenario. I think that this is what I put in the book, where my analytical side and my adventurous side had to come together, because I made the most beautiful export Excel spreadsheet translated into a PowerPoint animated slide to illustrate to my stakeholders on this major product development project why we couldn't meet a deadline. And everything flew into place, and it showed all this work we had to do, and it showed the time we had, which is so little. And after the end of it, I sat there and waited for everybody to applaud and say, well, we're going to give you a break. We're going to give you some more time. No, they just said, well, that's untenable, which I think I told you, I don't know what that word means, but it doesn't mean proceed with your plan. It means you're going to stick to the original deadline. And this guy said, the director of this business, who was insatiable for change and project, he said, you keep telling us about these risks, and then you keep doing it. Well, it's hard to argue with when he's telling you you're awesome. So, and the other thing that was going on in the back of my head, I knew that was going to happen. I knew they weren't going to accept, a delay. And so I'd already got my team launched on all the things we could do about rearranging the work, finding acceptable cuts in scope to kind of squeeze it in. And we figured it out and we made it happen. And I just was able to do that because I had this portfolio of bad experiences to draw on so I could recover from it. So that wasn't the primary lesson, but I kind of snuck that one in there.
You did, and it's amazing how practice is really how you become a great project manager. And practice is about taking, the school of hard knocks for what it is, which is a lot of lessons. So let me ask you this. What other chapter would you want to highlight and why?
Oh, the one that they were all so good. I went through the book in about 2 days after I got it. I think I might have been the second or third person that bought it, but the one that stood out that was a little unusual was the fires. And I think a couple things that attracted me to it was the fires. Actually, he made that into a acronym. And you know how I like to make complex things simple and get everything, down to a checklist. So having an acronym for his approach for handling that complex story in the movie The Fires was really good. And then the other thing about that I thought was kind of a sweet and made the story just so much more real was the author. I can't pronounce it.
That was
Yes. His daughter actually directed the movie. I thought that just made it such a neat story about how that chapter, how he wrote that chapter. as opposed
Yeah,
to
and
just
he's in it.
watching a movie.
He makes a cameo appearance in the movie too, and I can't.
Yeah.
And so everybody, The Fires was out. It was our newest movie in the lineup because it came out while we were writing the book. So his daughter, the director, actually fact checked his chapter to make sure that the stuff that he's writing about didn't end up on the editing floor, that it actually made it in the movie, which was amazing. And so, yeah, that was a really, really interesting one with a lot of family fun in there. So Mike, thank you so much for joining us for 2 chapters, the one that you wrote with Rachel on Lord of the Rings and your own based on Raiders of the Lost Ark. So we're going to wrap up right now. It's 1:01 on the East Coast. So just 1 minute over because this is episode 2. So we'll be wrapping up at 1:02. But I just want to thank everybody and all our authors for being here. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, James. Thank you, Justus. And thank you, Lee Lambert, for joining us from Ohio today, our patriarch of the profession, telling us that, hey, it's not Groundhog Day. It's not Groundhog Day here in Projectland. Thank you very much. And so if you'd like to join us for episode 3 with more authors, more insights, more behind the scenes footage, please plan on joining us on April 28th, same time here on LinkedIn. And you'll see more about that coming out on all the social feeds. And you are invited. So we hope to see you back here today. Please thank our authors for joining us. Mike, thank you so much for rounding us out.
Thanks a lot for having us.
Okay, everybody. Bye for now.